This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Make a sound. Too young low, gotta keep it down. Don't wait around, I want something now. Give me some vibe, I ain't looking down. You wanna ride in the six, you wanna die in the six. You wanna leave for the kiss. You said I'll probably send you some bits. And I'm like, hell no, been waiting too long. Hell no, I want that cool love. Hell no, been waiting too long. Hell no, I want that cool love. I want that cool love. Body in my, I'm so mad at this. Body in my, body in my. You wanna die in the six? I'm not even for the kiss. You said I'll probably send you some bits. And I'm like, hell no, been waiting too long. Hell no, I want that cool love. Hell no, been waiting too long. Hell no, I want that cool love. Body in my, I'm saying nobody else. Body in my, body in my, body in my.
Yo, it is Monad Monday. We are extremely back. Been a little spotty on the Monad Mondays coverage for the past few weeks. Team's been spread all over the world. We had an awesome and productive time with the community and builders in Thailand. But today we're going to talk about a topic that's on a lot of people's minds in the space, and we have some gigabrains up with us on stage here from the Monad team to chat it through. It's going to be consumer crypto, but before we get into it, how's everyone doing? We've got Fitz, we've got Harpal, we've got Evan, Omar, Alix. How are we doing? Chads, happy Monad Monday.
Happy Monday. I'm getting over a cold. We got the DevCon sickness that I'm still getting over. I hope you guys didn't end up catching that.
I somehow managed to escape it, and for that, I am extremely grateful. I know a lot of people, who attended Thailand got some form of virus or food poisoning, and that's never a good time. So grateful that I escaped it myself. Sorry to hear you're under the weather, Fitz. How's everyone else doing?
Doing well. I'm on
Doing great.
Yeah, likewise. I'm still walking in New York right now at the moment, so apologies for any noise. But yeah, doing well. Hope you feel better, Fitz.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Danny, I'm gonna take GigaBrain as an insult though. I'm actively trying to delete brain cells right now to understand Zoomer crypto.
That's a good strategy for sure. The GigaBrain comment definitely came from reading the article that you put out last week. And I just felt like I was so dumb reading some great insights there.
No, we're trying to left curve, man. That's the only way. You got to get on TikTok. You got to brain rot yourself, and that's how we're gonna onboard the masses.
True. I guess the shorter your attention span is, the better equipped you are to onboard new users into crypto. We are seeing that firsthand in the trenches these days, and a lot of crypto content leaking into TikTok, largely due to market conditions and some new apps there that are easing the onboarding process and really leaning into the speculative side of things. I guess before we dive into what will surely be an interesting discussion today, want to give a little bit of high level overview. What are we doing here? Why are we here? What are we going to talk about? Consumer crypto is a term that we've seen a lot on Twitter lately, a lot of different ecosystems talking about it. It's clear that these quote unquote consumer apps will drive the next generation of blockchain adoption. And like I was just mentioning, we're already seeing that in a few different areas. So wanted to have a special Monad Mondays, bring up some team members from the Monad side to share some thoughts. Alix and Evan recently had some great writing on similar topics. So want to chat through what is consumer crypto, and then get into some other topics like what role should infrastructure builders and ecosystems play in the growth and adoption of these quote unquote consumer apps, as well as some brainstorming and ideation for anyone who's thinking about building an app that's mainstream targeted, that's Zoomer targeted, that has social components, that leans into short attention spans and brain rot, because these are undoubtedly some new types of applications that we're going to see in crypto. But would love for the folks who are up here on stage, maybe you can give a little bit of a quick intro, say hi to all the amazing Nads in the audience. Maybe start with Evan. The floor is yours, good sir.
Yeah, happy to do so. Excited to be on my first Monad Mondays. Definitely not the last here, so please have me back. But yeah, I've been part of the Monad team for the past, it's been a couple of months now on the ecosystem team. So work really closely with, day-to-day startups, founders on the ground, helping them do everything from go-to-market, strategy, venture. Have a great time working together with Fitz and the rest of the gang here. Been working full-time in crypto since 2019. Done everything from being at other infra providers, consumer apps, SocialFi. So kind of, been through a few cycles and seen it all, but excited for the path forward with Monad.
Beauty. Love it, sir. Pumped to have you on today. Let's swing it over to the very familiar feature on Monad Mondays. Mr. Fitz, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good. Yeah, I feel like I'll be brief. I feel like most folks are somewhat familiar with me, but working on ecosystem at Monad, what that actually means changes from week to week. But yeah, pumped to jam about consumer crypto. I'm definitely guilty of aping, whatever tradable assets are on these new platforms within the first few hours of launch, whether it's time or social accounts or, who knows, live streams.
Beauty. Well, Fitz is in the trenches. Love to hear it. Glad to have you here today. Let's swing over to Harpal. I believe this is your first Monad Mondays, Harpal. So I'll give you a quick second to do an intro.
For sure, yeah. Thank you for having me. First Monad Mondays. For me, hi everyone. I'm Harpal. I work in the DevRel team along with Zen Lama here. So yeah, if you're building a consumer app and you need help with anything, development side, tech side, just message me. All my DMs are open. Feel free to just DM me anytime. I've been working in crypto for almost 3 years now. Before Monad, I used to work at Cello. Again, a consumer focused chain. But yeah, happy to be here and super curious about people's thoughts on consumer crypto, which is why I just joined. I'll be mostly spectating or just listening.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here, Harpal. Definitely going to be an exciting chat today. Let's swing over to Omar. I believe he's literally in the trenches of New York, walking to the office right now. So if you have a quiet spot and a quick second to drop an intro, Omar, the floor is yours.
Yeah, appreciate it, Danny. Yeah, my name is Omar. I come from primarily an engineering background. Was before at Coinbase as a security engineer, and then over at a firm called Spearbit that focuses on audits. And yeah, I sit on the ecosystem team at Monad, helping a lot of early stage teams, pre-venture support, and yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
Beauty. Awesome to have you here, Omar. Alix, how we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. It's super exciting to be here. So my name's Alex. I joined Monad literally last month, so I'm probably one of the newest here. Super excited about this. I'm what you could call probably a crypto boomer. I've literally been added to a group called Crypto Boomer. I've been in this space for about 10 years. I co-founded 2 companies in the space. One in the payment segment, one in the music space. So very consumer related. And prior to getting into blockchain professionally, I was working in the game industry. I work in gaming for about 10 years. So yeah, that's me.
Beauty. Glad to have you on stage today. Surely some interesting insights with the intersection of boomer crypto and consumer apps, which largely skews Zoomer, but you had a great article last week, which we'll dive into momentarily. But before we do, want to shout out, we had Zen Lama hop up on stage. Zen Lama is obviously very familiar to the Nads in the audience, but I'll give you a quick second to intro. How we feeling on this fine Monad Mondays, Mr. Zen Lama, sir?
I'm doing good. I am your resident Salmonad shill and a technical skeptic. So I will be the one to poke holes in everything because I don't believe in anything until it's proven. So here we go.
Okay, well, we look forward to proving hopefully something to you today. I don't know what that's going to be, but again, consumer crypto, super broad category. What is a consumer app? Well, it's something that a consumer uses, obviously, but that definition alone isn't very good. And would love to throw it over to Alix, who wrote an awesome article last week on consumer crypto, which we'll definitely pin up on the spaces here for anyone who wants to give that a read. But Alix, how would you define consumer crypto?
Yeah, so I want to give a little bit of context here. I was having a discussion with Tina from who is the ecosystem team at Monad, and she asked me to think about stuff around consumer crypto, and I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, I think I have a broad understanding of what it is, but like if I want to work on it properly, I have to like define it myself and try to figure out if the term even has legs. And as I was progressing in my kind of like thoughts, I was thinking, well, this term is too broad to kind of like use it as something you can actually work on. And so I tried to figure out why we keep using that term in the space, and it just came up to me that we often use consumer crypto as a way to talk about people that are not in the crypto space yet, which de facto exclude people that would be in crypto. But why are we even excluding crypto as a consumer space? Like I think there could be arguments that a lot of crypto projects are actually consumer projects, even the financial ones. And so, yeah, I had a lot of thoughts revolving around that, and I kind of came up with some kind of a little drawing of my own, where I felt like when we talk about consumer crypto, we often mean apps that have one or more of those three characteristics, which is being user friendly, having a potential for strong organic virality, and having a potential for mass market. And I know it's very broad, but I don't think there is a kind of like a narrower definition of what consumer crypto could be, because beyond that, I think you need to dive into specific vertical. And as you said, Danny, like the most basic definition is apps that is used by consumer. But like I would almost revert that, like who is not a consumer? You know what I mean? Like I feel like if you're not building an enterprise product, then your client is a consumer, and then any app is a consumer. I was seeing like in the article, like I cite a tweet exchange between two people, and one of them was trying to make the argument that financialization or trading makes it non-consumer. But then you would need to say that, for instance, something like Robinhood is not a consumer app, and like, okay, sure, but good luck trying to make an argument out of that, given like the user base and the traction that they have. So yeah, sorry, it's a lot of hectic thought, but just to conclude with that, I think, yeah, consumer crypto is something that is hard to define, that is often used to describe people that are not in crypto yet, and that we need to onboard to finally get crypto mass market.
Yeah, I don't know if at this point we're much closer to a true definition, but I do really like the idea.
We're not.
We're
definitely not.
Idea of viewing it through this lens of, is it user friendly? Is there organic viral potential? Is there mass market or quote unquote mass adoption potential? Does anyone have either a different thought in terms of how we can define consumer crypto, or potentially something to add there?
I can jump in a bit. I think, I mean, in my eyes, this conversation topic is not new. Every single cycle in crypto, when price goes up, people are saying, this speculation is eventually going to drive real use cases. And I think the question this cycle admits, like AI taking off, all these real things happening in other parts of tech, people are like, okay, infrastructure is being built. We've gone through a few cycles of price fluctuation. Where are the real use cases? And I think this is kind of just like a narrative that's spun up to basically ask that question. So in my eyes, consumer crypto is really just, what are the use cases? And I think it's, for me, I think there's three areas that I think about. The first is speculation and literally like the casino. The second is financial rails and a new financial system. And the third are these user-owned markets, or crypto as a coordination layer. So with the first one, everyone talks about speculation, I think almost in like negative ways, in terms of speculation is going to lead us to build something, but what is that something going to be? I almost think of it as like speculation itself is a use case. It's funny because on like Matt Huang has this like mental model of the casino being a Trojan horse for the new financial system. And on the last episode of Steady Lads, Jordy said that inside this new financial system is also just a casino. And I kind of agree with that. Like the revenue of Vegas is double the revenue of NASDAQ, for example. So I think like there is a real use case in speculation being, either for entertainment value, for tokens as a new religion, or just, giving like Zoomers and Gen Z hope that they can break out of financial shackles. But I think in other ways, it does lead to these new verticals being built, which are financial rails. So to that point, stablecoin growth is real product market fit. We're at 190 billion in market cap. That number has just been up and to the right for the past couple of years. We have a ton of real world use cases of inflation hedging, cross-border payments, remittances. People are adopting digital wallet. You saw last week Phantom overtook Google on the App Store. And then I think that the more like interesting catch-all vertical are these user-owned markets. I think what crypto is really good for is being a very low-cost coordination layer for markets. And that's where we've seen things like DePIN Takeoff, or where we're seeing a lot of use cases in AI of these like compute and data markets. I think it's all to say there's so much value that crypto saves, either from payment infrastructure or tokens, bootstrapping, network effects. And with crypto rails, users can own these networks. So we're seeing a lot of these consumer apps that might be very similar to what Web2 consumer apps are like. So for example, DoorDash or Grubhub, you're seeing Teleport and Nosh be the crypto equivalents to that, where it might very well be a use case we're used to seeing, but the users own that value, and basically like tokens and crypto distribute more economic value to these people. So that's kind of like my holistic framework. Sorry for a bit of a yap, but also going to write up something about this in a little bit.
Love it. I mean, we're here to yap, so that's the name of the game. And you did touch on a topic that I was planning on getting to a little bit later, which is, broadly, are we more excited about these net new apps, or apps that, perhaps are using blockchain to improve experiences that consumers already rely on? I think, broadly, this is kind of reflected, in the gravitation of users towards meme coins and pump.fun and things like that. Where, inherently any sort of investment, even on a NASDAQ level, is kind of gambling if you look at it through a particular lens, but it's not really friendly to quote unquote normies. Certainly for the most part, Zoomers are not getting involved. But then in crypto, you have obviously the ICO era, which was seen as pretty democratic and a lot of people could participate in. Then rotations into infra and DeFi summer, and now things like meme coins, because they appear on a surface level to be super fair to everyone. And I think from an investment or speculation perspective, that is clearly what the market, the general consumer, wants to participate in, something that feels fair, where their opportunity is equal to that of somebody who's well educated and well researched on Wall Street. But curious if you guys agree with that, disagree with that, or have any thoughts.
Yeah, I have an opinion about this. I feel like the meta is it's kind of like a negative opinion, by the way. I feel like the meta is pretty nihilistic. I feel like we are at a moment where like the crypto scene, which means us and the consumer, meet themselves at the crossroad of we want to make easy money. And the reason we are there is because crypto and blockchain is too complicated for consumer, and they hear all these stories about Bitcoiners making a lot of money because they bought early, and I think they associate crypto with like extreme returns, and they're like, oh, maybe I can also make like great money out of this, but I don't want to spend time learning all those things about decentralization. I don't care about that, just give me the money. So they're there. And for us, we're like, okay, we want consumer, like whichever path that leads to consumer, give me that. We want to onboard normies. And we're like, okay, we try to explain decentralization, we try to explain blockchain to them through the past cycles, and it almost never works. It's like we're struggling with that. So they want to come through meme coins. Okay, let's give them meme coins. And so we're kind of like meeting there, kind of like on our side, getting rid of the ideals, the philosophy for practical reason, because we want to onboard more people. And on their side, it's more like, yeah, we just want money. Fuck your explanation, fuck everything else. Just give us the great return. And that's I think, like, fundamentally, I'm not sure this is gonna lead into sustainable growth for the space. I hope it will. I mean, that I think with every onboarding cycles, there are always people that end up digging a little bit more and sticking to the space. But I'm not sure of the quality of the net new consumer that we're onboarding right now.
Yeah, good point for sure. And, I think if we're thinking about this from the lens of like, okay, what's the solution here? The normie association of crypto is this is, a land of opportunity from a financial perspective. This is somewhere where you can get great upside by speculating on different assets, whether, they're have any meaningful backing or not. But is it too simple to say that the solution is just to actually build an app that solves a problem that an everyday consumer is facing? Because if you zoom out on this, like, okay, you could look at meme coins through the lens of, well, the problem that consumers are facing is lack of capital. They need and want more money than they currently have at their disposal. So the number one reason to use crypto in today or in current times is to solve that problem. Now, if someone were to build an app that solved a different problem that was equally as pressing for a consumer user base, then could and would the adoption look the same?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize the the mic, but I feel like, yeah, that's something I talked about in some of the exchanges I had after publishing my article, is that a lot of the value that blockchain bring as a fundamental layer to build on is kind of like a what if scenario. Like, if I compare AI to blockchain, for instance, the AI changes the UX immediately. Like, you interact with the AI and you understand the value immediately, because like it gives you value so fast that you never had like that before. That it's like immediately game changer. With blockchain, you use the it's the same product. It's just that you own the thing, but you don't understand the ownership until a black swan event happened, and you're like, wow, I'm actually glad that this product was on chain, because thanks to that, it's not going down, or like it's not centralized, so it's not going down the drain with it, with everything else. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of hard to convey that value through a consumer app, just by saying, hey, it's on chain, and now you own your own assets, and you own your the social graph, for instance, if you're on a decentralized social app. It's not something that translates into a direct UX most of the time, because in some cases actually it does, but for most
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
consumers, it's not like a game changer. So it's very hard to sell a consumer app on that. So that's why I'm saying, like, the hard point of building consumer crypto is that we're at a stage in crypto where the infra is here. We have good enough infra, and we have to fight with regular Web2 consumer apps. So it's not about building the decentralized Twitter, or building the decentralized Uber or whatever. It's about building something that is disruptive and that's going to create real value outside of the decentralization proposition, which is a proposition in itself, but it's not compelling enough to onboard the next wave of consumers, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree in many ways. Like my personal definition of consumer crypto is it's just the second order implications of crypto's features. So like I think, Alex, to your point, traditionally we've been selling crypto through its features of, like decentralization, transparency, ownership, etc. And a consumer crypto is like, actually no one cares about the ability to own their own social graph. They care about like what's actually like a valuable app that encompasses it. And if like crypto's features enable that app, then like that's really interesting. But inherently as a user, like I don't really care about that idea of ownership. You need to make me something that is useful in and of itself. But Danny, I also agree with your earlier point, like on speculation. I think there is product market fit with like meme coins and speculation. Like if we talk about Zoomer crypto, like I think I'm peak audience for this. I'm under 25. All of my friends are like Gen Z as well. We're on TikTok. Our brains are definitely rotted. My screen time is like horrible. I'm in the trenches, right? And I think there is this sense of financial nihilism that is very real, that like we're not going to be able to make it out, or we're going to just like have to sell our soul to a corporation for the rest of your life. And like, you're never going to break out of the matrix kind of thing. And even like what Murad says and all of these things of like tokens as a new religion, I don't think I really understood it in the past, but now like I think it's very real. I think there is like a almost religious sense to this is like how we're going to make it out. And that's a fair way to, you're touching on like this very deep human emotion. One part of it is greed, but another part of it is this like self-actualization of how can I do more and have more than what I currently have. So in that way, like I think speculation itself is a use case. That being said, like I think we all hope that it'll drive still to more use cases, which I do believe there are. Again, like I think this whole idea of consumer crypto and product market fit, anyone who's outside the West using crypto probably like innately understands this, because I have like friends in Argentina that convert every single paycheck into Tether, for example. Like that is a very real use case of crypto from the financial end. And I think now we're seeing more use cases from these user-owned markets. DePin's a good example. Everything that's happening in like decentralized compute and storage is interesting. You also, with the like privacy space, the winner of Monad Madness NYC, EarnOS, is using zkTLS, so you can essentially have like deep questing or even like vampire attacks that prove human participation on marketing campaigns. I think these are really interesting ways to use crypto that speculation has led to, and we're going to continue to see more of.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick. Really agree with Alex, what Evan said. Something I think everybody should keep in mind is that I think consumer is generally derived and driven by individual desires within your ecosystem or your context. For example, within like Nigeria or like Lagos, I think statistics are that around 60 to 70% of folks own stablecoins, which is far ahead of the US in terms of adoption or other regions. But I think it's something to be said about region-specific needs. Whereas here, financial nihilism, I think, is much more prevalent in the West. But in the States, everybody wants to get out of the rat race, especially if you're 30 and under. But other areas of the world, sometimes it's purely just like our currency is devaluating at such a rapid rate. We need stables, and that's their consumer use case. Although stables might seem like a incredibly quote unquote boomer use case, it's something that's very prevalent and something that the users within that portion of the world are using very actively. So I think a lot of it is contextual, and I think we get too in the weeds sometimes of saying that consumer is just like like these are the categories of consumer. When in reality, I think it's just we analyze human desire and we analyze human needs, and people that build apps for those things to optimize on one spectrum, I think, yeah, desire for financial gain, desire for social connection, whatever it might be. And then sometimes it's just pure, like, we just need this. And I think that's where the argument that Alex made of what's worked, what hasn't worked in the past is much more prevalent now, is the pillars of decentralization, or the things that are, basic use cases, are much more enticing for certain folks. So just wanted to drop that as a piece. And, again, I don't think there's a robust definition, but there is something to be said about like, contextualizing things that are region specific and then also class specific in terms of what's appealing to people so that folks can build things that actually scale.
Yeah, I just want to follow up quickly on what Omar just said. I 100% agree with it. It's true that like my perspective was mainly from West point of view, but in a lot of countries across the globe, there is like really strong need for stable currency, and so stable coin have a huge role in those areas. And it's kind of funny that for now the two segments in blockchain that I found product market fit are basically the stable coins and the casino, which are the two extreme ends of the whole offer that blockchain has, which is really like the two extreme use case on each side of the spectrum. And I feel like we need to make the mid curve of the spectrum a little bit more sustainable, but maybe that'll come through people that were on board through those two extreme ends. Who knows?
But you guys touched on there's no robust definition, and I have a definition to propose. I think consumer crypto just has to check two boxes. It has to have a cute front end and some form of bonding curve, and that's the definition that I'm putting forth.
Interesting. Very simple. Fitz, do you want to elaborate at all as to like why those two areas, the cute front end and the bonding curve, kind of meet your definition for consumer crypto?
For sure, yeah. I could have used a laugh track after dropping that one. Mostly a joke. But if you look at, Friendtech, Pump Fun, Time.fun, all of these apps where it's like, oh, okay, I can go in and, basically just stake some sort of financial asset in an idea or somebody's, somebody else's brand. All of them just had those two categories, right? I think like Evan and I have had this conversation for a long time, which is like there's consumer crypto, which is, the broad approach that you guys have sort of put out there of like these are apps that aim to serve the masses, and they're built in such a way that it's hopefully easier for the masses to interact with them, but it's broad. And then you look at the current state of what consumer crypto actually is. If you were to search consumer crypto on Twitter, you would find people that are building apps that right or wrong are basically just like you can speculate on something other than a token price, when in reality on the back end it's like this is a pseudo token price. Like there's some sort of tokenized maybe non-attributable asset like time or these more abstract concepts that were discussed earlier. So it's kind of just a dig at everybody talks about consumer crypto as if like people are trying to build apps for the masses. I really don't think that consumer crypto is actually building for the masses at present. Like, it's almost like people are building for the consumer crypto narrative within CT, and like what Twitter thinks of as consumer crypto, as opposed to actually building apps that are for, people outside of crypto. The last thing that I'll say on this is like that's not to be overly negative or like dispel the sector overall. I think it's super exciting. But one take that I have, or just like this might be obvious, but when you look at apps like Web2 social apps, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever else, Instagram, the teams that built these set out to do something like so crazy and broad and like aimed to transform the world in a way that nobody had ever really seen before. And I think that like there's a very different like inception that happens for apps like those. So if you're a team that's sort of setting out to say like we're building in consumer crypto, it's almost like your scope of what you actually aim to do is just like greatly reduced in comparison to if you were to set out and just say like, yeah, this is an app that we want to like change the world with, and it'll probably involve crypto in some way. We're going to try and find a way to like weave crypto in gracefully in a way that leverages the positive qualities of blockchains. So forgive the yap, but hopefully that makes some sense.
Good yap for sure. I think, as I listen to some of your opinions, I almost think that consumer crypto, quote unquote, is like a marketing slogan for app builders, because the early builders in crypto and most of the builders in crypto today are focused on the infra side of things and this core ethos of what decentralization can unlock on the application side of things. But a lot of these builders aren't actually working on apps. And, I think that mindset and also that focus has resulted in some frustration amongst infra teams and infra builders, because there's been this vision that, like, okay, if we build the best infra, if we build something that's really performant, really scalable, really decentralized, whatever considerations specific infra teams have, they thought, if we build this really well, then application builders will come and recognize that, this is the new land of opportunity. This is a meaningful unlock on the app side of things. But in practice, that hasn't necessarily been the case. It's been like we've mentioned, stable coins and casino really kind of breaking out first and reaching product market fit. So that's why I think, consumer crypto and the conversation around it is almost a marketing play, sometimes unknowingly, amongst infra builders and people who have been in the space for a while, to say, hey, the infra is now ready. Come build apps that can serve the masses, because, as an industry, that's what we need to progress. I don't know if you guys agree with that, disagree with that. I know Zen Llama's got his hand up, so probably about to get a super spicy take out of him.
Yeah, I'll let Zen Llama speak. I'll take the mic after you.
It's not super spicy, but it goes to, I guess it's just like a different perspective from what Fitz was saying. Like, I actually think like what crypto is really good at doing is like it's quite frankly social coordination technology, right? And for like a lot of consumer crypto, I think we think about it as like, oh, this should appeal to everyone, like everyone should own this app. And like if you look at how many apps launch in the App Store today, like, there are a lot of apps launching and very few of them get to the scale of like Facebook or TikTok. So in my mind, what consumer crypto is actually like nailing down on, and maybe why we haven't hit it yet, is because maybe you just have to have like hyper localized apps, right? Like crypto provides financial rails for you to actually make that a viable business model. And so in my mind, like consumer crypto to me would actually be more about like the 1,000 True Fans vision, almost like what Patreon did for creators, right? And some sort of app where like it's kind of just for, the people who are into a certain topic or into a certain thing, but there's some sort of social network effect with incentives around it that makes that a viable business where it wouldn't have otherwise been as a Web2 app where you have to target massive consumers, because you have to go after everyone.
Yeah, I kind of want to follow up on this. I mean, I definitely agree with what you said, Danny, earlier, and what Zen Llama just said as well. In the article that I wrote, I basically said that you have two paths for growth when you build in consumer crypto. You either go for consumers, like broadly speaking, so including people that are not in crypto, and in that case, you really need to make your app. You really need to abstract the shit out of the blockchain aspect of your app and make it like any other Web2 app, or you go for the crypto niche. So that's what a lot of builders in the space try to do, because I guess that's the easiest way. Because if you go Web2, you basically have to fight with all the other apps that are on the different stores and online, right? So it's a mature market. Like the market of online apps is almost like 20 years old now. There's a lot of strong players with a lot of fundings, huge teams, very difficult to disrupt. So it's a big endeavor to try to do that. So it might be easier to go like by capturing a niche first and grow from that niche. You also have to remember that a lot of massive Web2 apps actually started as niche. Like Facebook started as a college kind of like hot or not um, funny app. So we have to remember that like starting from a niche it doesn't condemn you to stay in that niche. But you also have to be mindful that it's gonna probably limit your growth for the short to midterm, because you'll need to grow at the pace the whole space is growing. And unfortunately for the crypto space, the growth of the crypto space in the consumer realm is kind of like, I would say, a roller coaster with like big spikes, but also a lot of downtime. And you have to have strong legs to survive those downtimes that are really, really, really hard. That's why you see so many companies going down during bear market times.
I like that what you said about it's fine to be in a niche to start, but you have to like grow out of that, right? The bro on a college campus is not going to onboard to your app because you tweet about ZKTLS, right? He's going to onboard because he can, talk shit about his peers in an anonymous fashion, or like, you know what I mean? Something
Yeah.
that has an appeal outside of tech.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I would challenge that it does have to grow much bigger. Now, in the context of these hyper financialized apps, that we're seeing today in crypto, yeah, maybe those, need to grow bigger to, address like a larger market. But I do actually think like true consumer crypto, like what is the point of getting a bigger app with Facebook? It was profit, right? They wanted to be a profitable business, and it's not profitable with 1,000 people on college campuses, doing hot or not. In crypto, that's not necessarily the case. Like it could be a profitable business even like that. And so like I would just challenge the assumption that it does have to get much bigger, and that you actually can just be a profitable business going after a niche and staying that way.
So I would say to that, I would say from a single company profit point of view, you don't need to grow out of the niche. I agree with you on that. I was more talking from a philosophical point of view. Like if we want blockchain to be the new internet, the new infrastructure for the internet, then at some point we need to grow out of the niche, because it's all or nothing. We either become the new internet or we become a niche. But like a decentralized niche is not really relevant to fix what blockchain is supposed to fix in the world.
I mean, I would say that even the argument with the internet today is more of the style I'm talking about, right? Web pages are more, 1,000 true fan type hubs than billions of people, right? Maybe the infrastructure serves billions of 1,000 true fan type web pages, right? But the web pages individually, I don't know that they need to be that massive.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion on that. I'm not gonna rebut you.
I feel like we've left consumer crypto and we're like, we're in the land of like what makes internet businesses good or bad.
Next thing you know, someone's going to be selling an e-commerce course up here.
Yeah, Danny, are you a drop shipping king? Have you spun up Shopify sites in the past?
No, but honestly, it was one of the reasons that I first got into crypto, because I was a little bit too Zoomer to firsthand watch the first evolution of the internet, kind of that .com bubble in the late 90s, which I think, most people who were there for that and also participate in crypto say the vibes are pretty similar. And then, felt like I kind of missed an opportunity when the Web 2 overhaul really happened, and there was the ability to monetize online, via socials and all the new opportunities that created. So, it was late kind of 2010s, where I was looking back at those evolutions of the internet and starting to understand a bit more about the value proposition of blockchain and of crypto. And that was a big aha moment for me, where I was like, I have to be involved in this, because I'm FOMOing everything else that I didn't participate in but saw firsthand evolve online. So that is definitely one of the reasons I'm here, although I have basically no experience in drop shipping or e-commerce, but doing a little bit of research into that now, because we want to scale this plushie distribution and make them accessible across the globe. But that's a conversation for a different day. We are coming up on time here, and really appreciate everyone who's come up on stage. Lot of great perspectives and varied backgrounds. So for the community in the audience, be sure to throw a follow to all the Chads up here on stage today. This is going to be a conversation that continues to evolve, certainly. And really looking forward to seeing some apps begin to deploy on Monad in the coming months. But I'll pause there before we wrap up. If anyone has final thoughts, any final tips, alpha, or suggestions for the audience, feel free to share away.
I guess I'd like to put a finer point on things. Like, I didn't mean to derail things to like a profitable business conversation. I guess I'm just trying to get people to think about like what crypto economic incentives are actually good for, right? And like as an app builder, I think that definition doesn't necessarily have to be everyone in the world, right? And that consumer crypto can just be something that your friends would use. And at the end of the day, that's really what it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that, Zen Llama. I think the sweet spot is like, start from first principles. How can you just find product market fit? And then how does crypto uniquely enable something there? And maybe it is just, token speculation, bootstraps, network effects, and helps you get past some sort of cold start, or using crypto as a coordination layer, or using crypto for payments, whatever. I think there is this sweet spot of how you can just find product market fit, and then crypto enables or supercharges that application. And like the parting thoughts from my end is that, as Alik said, the infrastructure has come such a long way. And Danny, you talked just now about the dot-com bubble. The interesting thing about the dot-com bubble is that a lot of the theses and the ways people thought the internet would evolve during that bubble eventually came true. And a lot of it, maybe it was like different companies and timeline, but a lot of that vision eventually did play out. And I think even in crypto, we see that now with some of the 2017 ICO era projects that were promising things like decentralized like internet structure and telecom, or like quant trading that would double your Bitcoin for you, now are like legitimate applications we're seeing in DeepIn, or we're seeing in like AI agents, are actually happening now that we have the infrastructure. And I think it's all to say the barrier to entry of building in crypto is lower than it's ever been. And ideas that are really good and teams that think from first principles are now at a premium. So if people just think from those first principles, I think there's so much room to succeed and, hopefully do it on Monad.
And my closing thoughts is that I think for the longest time in crypto, we've used consumer, as I said in the beginning, we use consumer crypto as a proxy for things that are not crypto. And there's a reason to that, because blockchain is fundamentally an infrastructure product, right? So we needed a lot of infrastructure in the beginning to make things work. We needed wallets, exchanges, faster L1s, and smart contracts. All those things needed to happen for the space to even exist. So that makes sense. And also, I think the initial bias, because it didn't have to be that way. Blockchain didn't have to be financialized. But the fact that Bitcoin started as, I kind of forgot the term, but like a peer-to-peer cash system or something like that, kind of like set the trend for, set the vibe for the whole space, which became heavily financialized, and a lot of apps revolved around financialization, trading of assets, stacking of assets, yields, and all those stuff. So I feel like and those don't have to be necessarily non-consumer. That's kind of like the funny thing about it. But because we consider them kind of like blockchain native, when we talk about consumer crypto, we don't involve them, and we don't include people that are already using crypto. And I think that limits us also mentally into thinking that crypto and blockchain are not consumer friendly. And I feel like this is a mental state we need to evolve from, now that the infra is at a good level, that there is a good understanding of what blockchain is. I mean, good. I would say fair understanding of what blockchain is in the realm of the media, a lot of consumer and etc. I feel like we need to move on from thinking that crypto is non-consumer friendly and just be ready to compete with Web2 as an equal player, as an equal value proposition, and fight on the same ground.
Love it. Love it. Well, with that, you inspired me to post my own tweet on the top of this Spaces. And it is a good reminder. It's one of my favorite clips of Keone. Crypto will take over the world. I think we just need to zoom out. We need to keep building. We need to keep finding ways to support teams that have bright ideas on the application side of things. And that's exactly our goal here at Monad. So lots to be excited for. Appreciate everyone who stopped by and spoke today, shared some thoughts. Appreciate everyone in the audience as well. It is certainly an exciting time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Monad Mondays.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.